Welcome to Down Earth Astrology and Primal Girl Wellness. Before I set this video up, I just want to let you guys know, one, the video was actually, and chart was actually done 3 days ago. However, it was early in the morning and I've been under a lot of stress watching the things that are happening and thinking about what this means moving into the future for our country as a nation and our democracy. So if you have been paying attention and you're having some issues with your digestion and sleeping and all sorts of stuff, it's not your imagination. Your anxiety probably really is that high. So for those of you who have blood pressure issues, keep an eye on your blood pressure. And if your blood pressure is high, and it's not, medication is not touching it, you seriously might want to consider talking to your doctor about some anti-anxiety meds for a little while. With that said, did this beautiful chart work, very excited, and of course, you know, wrong day, wrong time, or right time, wrong day. So I went back and checked the chart. All of the information still stands true, with a couple of caveats. The dates, the prognostication predictions for the dates moving forward are off by about a day or so. So they're noted in the video. The other thing is the time that Trump actually arrives in New York for his arraignment, the arraignment hearing at 2:15, which is today, the moon will be void, of course. Now, when moon is void, of course, in a chart, especially in an event chart, this typically means a couple of things. One, things will not go according to plan. So whatever the courts have in mind, whatever Trump's defense has in mind, none of this is going to go the way they think it's going to go. So things may go sideways pretty quickly. The other thing is that they're indicating that this could be months or years before this trial ever actually comes to fruition, right, or into existence. Now, the thing about it is, the chart we're setting up is specifically for this trial, right? And this set of charges. This has nothing to do with the 26,000 other indictments that are about to get handed down like dominoes, one after the other after this. So understand that the chart we're doing right now is specific to this particular trial hearing and these particular set of charges. With the moon void, of course, typically, as a general guideline, typically what you get is a big nothing burger. Nothing comes of it, which is entirely possible. They have discussed this possibility about this particular set of indictments before. That's not really the point for the whole hearing and process. Much bigger picture here. And again, we've got 26,000 other indictments coming down the pike right behind this one. So we're not worried about this one. This is just, you know, the thing that opened the can. So we may not actually see this amount to a whole lot of anything, but it will certainly start getting colorful very quickly. For those of you who live in New York and the surrounding areas, I would strongly encourage you on the days that are noted in the video to be very aware of your surroundings and people in them and things happening. And if you see something, say something. There is absolutely the possibility that some knucklehead is going to try and contaminate the water supply, the locals' water supply, or the food supply, which in New York would be the ports where the food comes in. But, you know, if you catch these things ahead of time, you can catch them before damage is done. And I'm not telling you this to panic you. I'm telling you this to make you pay attention. Pay attention. So we will see what happens. Also, too, there's mention of a married woman that will be like the final favor called in on behalf of Trump. And I immediately thought of Ginni Thomas. Now, this isn't to say that it is Ginni Thomas. It could be anybody, up to and including the likes of Rebekah Mercer. If you don't know who it is, look her up. She's a MAGA supporting billionaire. And a whole bunch of other people, you know, in the MAGA movement that have money, deep, deep pockets. One of the things that we're seeing is all this cash flow moving into his campaign chest, his war chest, right, as a result of this, you know, indictment and stuff. And I got news for you. This money's not coming from the poor folks he's ripping off. And, you know, he's taking their money too. He's not going to turn it down. But a large portion of those big numbers that you're seeing, the millions of dollars that you're seeing in his war chest for campaigning in 2024, it's coming from billionaires, millionaires and billionaires, white, racist millionaire and billionaires who want you broke, tired, scared, and underpaid and struggling so that they can keep paying you less, because this country is still, in many places, is still operating on a plantation slave mentality business operations model, right? So, anyway, so we're in for some interesting times, but the ship is righting itself, so there will be no race war. We're going to fight you with love. We're going to marry your kids. We're going to marry your grandkids. We're going to build happy, healthy homes, and we're all going to thrive and love each other. And the only person that's going to get hurt is you, because you won't speak to your family because they married somebody that not white, you know, or that you don't approve of because they're not the color you think they should be. Right? And what are you going to do? Are you going to shoot your children? Are you going to shoot your grandchildren because they're biracial? Really? Is that who you are? Just saying. So moving forward in the country, one of the things that they're concerned about is the browning of America. Well, newsflash, honey, it's not the browning of America. It is the biracial and multiracial, multiculturalism of America. There are more biracial kids running around now, and even more as we move forward, and multiracial than there has ever been in history in any nation and will ever be. We are literally becoming a giant Crayola crayon box, and we love it. We love it. So we don't need a race riot. We're not going to fall for any race war baiting or anything like that. That's you. That's you wanting a massacre, or you thinking that a massacre is going to apply to everybody but you. The rest of us, we're going to love each other. And we're going to love some of your kids and your grandkids. And we're going to make more beautiful, multicolored, multicultural babies. So we'll miss you at the family reunion. All right, let's get on with the video. Notable things about this chart. 15 Leo rising on the chart itself for the hearing. Now, they're good luck getting out of this one, buddy. So with the 15 degrees of the fixed signs, these are power degrees. These are incredibly difficult situations and people and experiences to move. Like 15 degrees, like the mule, it digs in and it's not going. So hold that thought. Yeah. This is fixed in place. Good luck getting yourself out of this one. Now, if you've been listening to some of the public speaking that he's been doing up until, which has been escalating, by the way, on his social media and other places, from him, like, this man is not going to be happy until he throws out the N word, right? And the K word and the W, like, I mean, listen, you want a list of pejoratives for other races, including white people? We got a freaking list. They go all the way back. And don't think that you're exempt because you're Italian or Irish. Like, just because you're eggshell white doesn't make you white. And there's plenty of pejoratives for you too, buddy. So in his particular case, because he knows it's like a big favorite word, like, ooh, the taboo word with white supremacists and white nationalist racists, right? He's dying to throw that N-word out. And so are they, because that basically gives them permission to start dropping N-bombs everywhere. Because they're not doing it because they're trying to be funny. They're not doing it because they don't understand the damage it is intended to cause. It is always said by people who want to inflict the most demeaning and insulting damage in the quickest time possible that have no other weapons. So they're waiting for him to do it, and he's looking for an opportunity. You watch, you mark my words. Because he also knows that that will set people off. And in New York, I think there's been history of race wars back in his day, back when Giuliani, was Giuliani ever mayor? Anyway, so back in the day when Trump was at his heyday, I'm pretty sure that race wars were a big thing, right? Because it was the 70s. I mean, well, certainly back in that day. And it didn't, like, literally, you start throwing words like that around, you're literally throwing down the gauntlet and asking for war. And he knows that. And he knows that. So I'm curious to see if he actually goes there. I mean, he'll go anywhere. There's no depth to which he will not sink. So we'll see. Back to the chart. Okay, so 15 Leo rising. We've got 15 degree of fixed sign rising, making this an incredibly difficult situation to extricate yourself from or to maneuver inside of. The biggest aspect we have in this chart for the arraignment is a T-square with the moon, the Neptune, and Mars. Mars is the leg of the T-square. Now, I'm giving this about 5 days, because some of the other things in the chart, before this kicks off. 5 to 10 days, but 5 days, mark your calendars 5 days from the 5th, which can take us to the 10th. So circle your calendar for the 10th, because that's an important date. In this particular chart, 5 to 10 days, that 5 to 10 day window after the 5th is going to be extremely critical in terms of, well, you know, 5 days. Actually, it's 5 days. It's going to be extremely critical in terms of what he does and how these things move forward. One of the things that shows up very clearly in this chart is this shows somebody who is a wounded man. This is literally a wounded animal coming to court. He's not as strong and powerful as you think he is. Or he knows he's not as strong and powerful as he'd like people to believe he is. So that's going to be on a full display. All of his shortcomings and weaknesses will be on full, complete display. The handicaps will be real and visible. Also, too, now here's the interesting thing about this particular chart. There also looks like he's still, I hate to say it, but he's still got one last favor he can pull in. It looks like it's a favor from a wife. Now, what's interesting is I don't know that this is necessarily the current wife that he's married to. This could be somebody else's wife. And literally the first thought that came to my mind was Ginni Thomas. So somebody's wife is going to pull in one final favor for him where this case goes. Now, that doesn't mean that this case is going to play in his favor towards the end, but there's a married woman pulling some strings here to get him some assistance. It's literally, this is literally the last ditch effort and favor, like the last lifeline, right, for him to reach for is coming in through a married woman. And again, we're still looking at 5 days. 5 days. So it will be interesting to see what happens around the 10th of April with Mr. Trump and all of the pot stirring that he's trying to do. Don't be surprised if he tries to drop the N-bomb before this is over, because, you know, racists, white racists, love that word. Oh my God, like a bunch of freaking toddlers shaking shiny keys at people. Ooh, N-word, N-word. And also, too, like, he knows that, like, in terms of race wars, like, that's in his mind, because in his mind, he still lives in the 1970s, right? He's still seeing, like, the 1970s now dropping the N-bomb, right, would literally set off major, major confrontations in places where you had more equal demographics of whites and minorities of all shapes, sizes, and diasporas. So he's still living in the past. The other thing is, when I was looking at his, and I'll set those up soon too, when I was looking at his rectified chart, as well as the prognostications moving forward and the timing for the election, blah, 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 blah. One of the things that comes through very clear when you correct the chart is that this is not this has never been a well man. There's something broken inside his brain, and has been for a very long time. And there are some key questions that come up about the first 2 years of life for him that may have caused either brain damage or created the character that we see in front of us. But there's something very significant that happened in that first year and a half of life. But, you know, how are we going to know? Because the only people who would know would be the family, specifically the mother or the father, maybe a sibling. They're not telling, you know, if they even know. So, and he certainly can't tell. He's a poor historian to begin with. So, so there's that. The other thing that's notable about this chart for the hearing is that, believe it or not, because I know some of you are going to find this hard to believe, but public opinion is on the side of the courts. So the people involved in the legal proceedings against Donald J. Trump are getting a lot more love and support and public favor than you might want to believe. So, mushroom coffee. So that is very, very good. Let's see what else we got here. I'm telling you, April 10th, it's a bomb's going to drop. I mean, not literally, don't panic. I'm hyperbole, I'm exaggerating, figure of speech. But April 10th is a big, big freaking deal. I don't know why. We're going to watch and see how this work plays out. One of the things that happens if you're looking at the chart is that if the ninth house rules the courts, the legal courts, legal system, and or the higher courts, right? So in this case, this chart is for a judicial process. So the third and the ninth house come into play. The third house being the lower courts, the ninth house being the higher courts, right? The ninth house for the higher courts around this particular situation is Mars. And this is what we're seeing. We are expecting to pop off on the 10th. Very, very important day. So watch that day. Give it like 12 hours before, after the 10th, like, you know, timing, right? But I'm telling you, the 10th is a big hotspot day that's going to blow stuff up. Figuratively speaking. Also, too, then, you know, what about the lower courts, right? Because I'm not really sure what court this is that he's in, that would be, what tier would be considered, right, in our judicial system. So we'll look at the third house, too, just to be safe and on good measure. Well, the third house would be ruled by Libra, which is ruled by Venus. The moon is in the third house. So I'm thinking this is a lower court, not a superior or supreme court, but not the highest court. involved here yet. Watch the 10th. Watch the 10th. If that is the case, the moon is in the house of the lower court. The moon sets up this T-square, which also pulls in that higher court, the 9th house, and the ruler Mars, you know, around the 10th, or on the 10th specifically. Also, too, Venus will take a hit. Some unexpected challenges or information or things that are going to shake things up, like, whoa, where did that come from? Will happen, occur, or be brought into view the day before, so around the 9th, because we've got a 4-day window, give or take. Yeah, we've got like a 4-day window. So on the 9th, the lower court, whichever would represent, what would represent the lower court in a situation, should get some shock, or like brace yourselves. Some shock or unexpected, something like, oh, didn't see that coming kind of thing happening, which will open up and reveal other stuff. And it's literally the next day, the 10th, that the higher courts get involved, and we've got much, much bigger things falling into place. And also that, remember that 10th is when this favor gets called in from some married woman, maybe not married to him, as a one big last, you know, final desperate favor, final lifeline. Pull him up. Won't help. Will not help. He's not getting out of this. But you mark my words and see if this horse's ass doesn't try to drop the N-bomb somewhere in here just to try and start a race war, which won't happen because, honestly, darlings, we are not that stupid. I'm just saying. So it's much easier to marry your kids and your grandkids than it is to start a race war. You can hate us all you want. We're going to marry your children, your grandchildren. We're going to start whole new families with all of those kin and kith that you are going to miss terribly because you won't speak to your kids and your grandkids or your great-grandkids because they've married somebody who's not white. We know who you are. And you know what? We're having a much happier time at our house than you're having at yours. So, watch April 10th. April 9th, look for something shocking to happen. And April 10th, watch for major moving and shaking to occur in conjunction with it or as a fallout from it. Let's see what happens. Oh, and by the way, this has been Primal Girl Wellness and Down to Earth Astrology. I am your astrologer. If you have not already subscribed to the channel, you might want to subscribe to get notifications of these videos. If you liked this video, please, by all means, hit the like button to give me some feedback. And for those of you who are following other astrologers, hey, I know. Why don't you ask them what their thoughts are? Let's get a conversation going. Bye.